These 11 people are calling an UberX from our office in Lower Manhattan to the Plaza Hotel. Same ride at the exact same time.
6627.
64.96.
Mine says 54.95.
What? That's
For UberX?
Per UberX.
Wow. The highest fare was nearly 21% more expensive than the lowest fare.
If we're all just sitting in the same room and you're gonna give different prices, like, is there a reason they're getting a more expensive one?
This report on Uber and Lyft found routes that are over 50% more expensive. So what's going on?
The same product or service, different prices for different consumers.
They have access to tons of data about you, about people like you. It's safe to say they can use those indicators to adjust prices in ways that they think will be more profitable for the company.
Uber says it doesn't use personal data to personalize prices. But what we found is that Uber's patents and a certain in-app disclosure raise questions.
It is a bait and switch, right? Like, hey, take this Uber ride and it's only going to cost you $10. And then 3 years later, Uber says, hey, now that actually costs you $60. And like, you're stuck.
You'd think with higher prices, drivers would be making more.
When it first started, I think it was 75-25 split, 75 for the driver. But lately I've seen below 50%, which I never saw before.
So is Uber setting a different price just for you? And is that the reason why some Uber rides are so expensive? In the early days, while Uber didn't show you the price of a ride right away, it did promise a bargain. UberX cheaper than a taxi. The low prices helped bring riders onto the app. More riders attracted more drivers.
They needed a decent percentage of consumers and drivers on their platform. And if they captured enough of that, the idea would be that for consumers or the drivers to leave Uber would be very costly.
For many Uber drivers, the deal was simple. Keep 80% of the fare while Uber took 20%. And that strategy paid off. By 2013, Uber expanded to more than 60 cities worldwide and was valued at around $3.5 billion. But making that bargain possible and scaling it fast meant Uber was willing to lose money.
They were taking their venture capital financing and whatever other financing they were raising, and they were letting the core of their business operate at a loss.
At the time, Uber priced rides using a rate card that followed a pretty simple formula. A base charge plus a fixed rate per minute and per mile. Think of it like a digital taxi meter. And who could forget when Uber introduced surge pricing? When demand outpaced the number of available drivers, Uber multiplied the fare. Surge pricing didn't always sit well with riders. In fact, it sparked backlash, like in 2012 when Uber charged over $100 for rides less than 3 miles on New Year's Eve. But drivers actually love surge pricing.
Well, if there were no surges, I wouldn't even drive. I would quit driving Uber. The surges is when I make a lot of money.
But even with surge pricing, Uber wasn't profitable. In 2017, the company reported a net loss of $4.5 billion. That year, Dara Khosrowshahi stepped in as CEO to clean up Uber's image and financial situation.
Uber was in a tough spot in the sense that, again, they had not been profitable ever. They had troubles in the EU, London, France, and they had their investments in self-driving cars, which clearly were not going to pay off anytime soon. That was the problem. Their core business wasn't profitable.
Going public in 2019 put Uber's finances under closer scrutiny. At the time, the company had accumulated a deficit of nearly $9 billion. In 2022, Uber was still reporting major losses, and its stock was worth less than half its initial public offering price. The pressure was mounting on Khosrowshahi to prove Uber could finally turn growth into profit. In 2022, Uber began aggressively expanding upfront pricing, a pricing model it had been quietly testing since 2014, not just for riders, but for drivers as well. Under upfront pricing, fares and driver pay moved away from the predictable formula of time and distance with the occasional surge.
Upfront pricing gets rid of all that, and they say, here's the price, here's the payout, take it or leave it. That's it.
It's nice to know the price you're paying and what the driver would be earning ahead of time, but
it all becomes much more variable for everyone, right? It seems they're not using a rate card anymore.
so how does Uber calculate the fares if it no longer uses the rate card? Uber says many data points, including the estimated trip time, distance from origin to destination, time of day, route, and demand patterns. It also includes tolls, taxes, surcharges, and fees. All of this indicates that Uber is basing the price on the ride and marketplace conditions. But two reports say that upfront pricing quietly uses AI to get more money out of you. This analysis from 2025 found that upfront pricing allows Uber to separately estimate the closest maximum each consumer might be willing to pay for a given trip and minimum any nearby driver might be willing to accept. The author, Lynn Sherman of Columbia Business School, calls that algorithmic price discrimination.
Algorithmic price discrimination just means maximizing prices and minimizing costs using data and algorithms, right? So it sort of supercharges that process, because if you have a ton of data and you have good ideas about how people behave, I think what Len Sherman would say is Uber does it better than anyone else. It's not personal surveillance maybe so much as it is they have all this data on a bunch of people like you or people who have certain similar habits. And so, if we send that group of people a specific price, you're likely to respond to that in a certain way.
Uber flatly denies personalizing prices, or as critics call it,
surveillance pricing.
Surveillance pricing.
It is called surveillance pricing.
but the company does say it may use personal data to tailor promotions and discounts. And if you take a closer look at Uber's own messaging, it gets a little complicated. If you're in New York and you open the Uber app, keep scrolling to the very bottom of your quote, and you may find this sentence. This price was set by an algorithm using your personal data. Uber has to show you that because New York law requires companies to disclose when personal data is used to help set your price. And in digging a little deeper into Uber's documents, Uber patents detail just how much your phone can potentially reveal. One patent describes how Uber's machine learning system could track tapping accuracy, typing speed, the angle of your phone, and even your walking speed, and compare those signals with your past behavior. Another patent shows how much Uber can predict from your ride history, stating, a rider that routinely inputs a drop-off location proximate to a daycare center or school before proceeding to a professional building can be readily identified as a single working parent. The age and gender or sex of the rider can further be determined through analysis of the ride history data. These patents show how advanced Uber's tech might be. Uber told us over email that these patents do not establish present or past use, and neither patent relates to pricing. As for the in-app disclosure, Uber said that it only uses riders' locations, which count as personal data under New York's disclosure law. To test what's going on, we asked our colleagues to request the same ride at the exact same time. Same pickup, same destination, same route. First, we had riders request a car from Business Insider's offices in Lower Manhattan to John F. Kennedy Airport, Terminal 4, Delta Airlines. $149.51.
$149.50.
$149.50. Getting cheated on. $150.10.
$146.47.
Whoa.
The price increase between Shannon and Abby, who received the most expensive and cheapest quotes, was only 2.48%. But if we go back to our results from the beginning of the video, from the office to the Plaza Hotel, we found a 20.6% price increase between Amanda and Adam's quotes. The colleagues we spoke to were puzzled and frustrated by the range of prices for the same ride.
I understand if it's raining or if there's not enough cars, sure, you can charge extra. But we're all just sitting in the same room and you're gonna give different prices, why?
I was a little annoyed. Obviously they don't know that we're seeing everybody else's prices, but what did I do wrong?
they're not the only ones asking questions.
Okay, Uber is getting out of hand.
That is surveillance pricing, the same product or service, different prices for different consumers.
Keep in mind, our experiment was limited in scope. When we asked Uber about our results, they blamed imprecise GPS, saying a ride from one Liberty Street and ONE Liberty Street could result in different fares. Even small differences in pickup location, they said, can change route and the estimated price. But Consumer Reports found similar results with a much bigger sample. That report had over 170 volunteers compare price quotes from Uber and Lyft, checking the same routes at nearly the same time. Some routes had a median gap of 50% between the highest and lowest prices. Lyft didn't respond to our request for comment, but in an official statement, Uber said Consumer Reports' findings were based on flawed methodology, and added over email that they rely on comparing discounted prices. Consumer Reports also doesn't dispute Uber's claim that it doesn't use personal data. Ultimately, we don't know what precise data is used to calculate your fare or how the algorithms are working in a given ride. That's sort of the issue with upfront pricing. How it works is unclear.
As the rider, I know how much I'll pay for a ride, and as the driver, I do know how much I'm getting, but how that was calculated is usually a mystery. It's just a black box. It still feels like a black box.
What we do know is that prices have gotten more expensive. Uber rolled out upfront pricing to regular UberX riders in 2016. In the years that followed, average fares soared by 83% from 2018 to 2022, nearly 4 times the annual rate of inflation. It's a far cry from the cheaper rides of Uber's early days. Uber told us that the figure does not account for more recent data. The 2018 to 2022 numbers we provided are the only publicly available nationwide data set based solely on Uber fares. And Uber did not provide us with updated pricing data. But the company doesn't dispute that fares have risen significantly and cites inflation, higher fees and costs, and a post-pandemic driver shortage among the reasons why.
It is a bait and switch, right? Like, hey, take this Uber ride, and it's only going to cost you $10. And then 3 years later, Uber says, hey, now that actually costs you $60. And like, you're stuck.
That switch up had a big impact on Uber's bottom line. In 2023, Uber reported its first ever annual profit of $1.1 billion.
I think it's fair to say that upfront pricing is the secret to their turnaround. And upfront pricing may be the secret to Uber becoming profitable as a company.
Remember that 2022 low? 3 years later, Uber's stock price had more than quadrupled, and the company continues to break its own records for profit and cash flow. While riders feel the price shift, drivers are also feeling squeezed by Uber's turn to upfront pricing. Let's go back to the findings from Lynn Sherman we touched on earlier. In addition to maximizing rider price, the analysis also says Uber finds the closest minimum any nearby driver might be willing to accept. We got to see this firsthand with Levi, an Uber driver in Syracuse, New York, when our producer Margaret booked a ride with him from Cazenovia to Syracuse.
Hi, Margaret.
Hey, Levi.
The price she paid was $70.52. What did Levi earn?
That's how much I made. So the upfront fare, when I accepted it, was $25. How much did you pay?
Wow.
He also told us he only has a matter of seconds to decide whether a trip is worth the upfront price he's offered.
There you go. So look, 10-minute ride, so it's 5 and 5. Okay, so that ride was $4.75, 10 minutes. Minus 2.5 miles of expenses. So my cost per mile is 30 cents per mile. So that's 75 cents in cost. So the ride paid $4.75. So that's a $4 in profitability. Divide that over 10 minutes worth of work. So that's, oh gosh, I don't know. See, I was supposed to say, I can't figure it out that fast. Before, so I don't know. It's not worth it. I could tell you that wasn't worth it, right?
Now you have like 5 seconds. So they know I'm driving and they're hoping I won't realize how bad the ride is and take it.
Bill Lewis has been driving for Uber since 2017 and has nearly 40,000 rides under his belt. He told us he's witnessed how upfront pricing has changed what drivers earn.
When they instituted upfront pricing, they now tell you the price, they tell you the pickup location, and they tell you where you're going. But for that, they feel like they deserve never to pay us any more, right?
You think, as a driver, the way to make the most amount of money is by being a good driver, by being safe, reliable, having a clean car. No. The way you make money is by playing the game. And the game it's a numbers game.
Bill and Levi aren't the only ones feeling squeezed.
We pay gas, we fix the car, we pay insurance.
They're charging the passengers $50, $60. They don't want to pay.
We are tired and frustrated.
We have nothing.
Uber says individual driver behavior doesn't factor into fares and is instead based on marketplace conditions for the requested route. But on the company's Q4 2023 earnings call, Uber CEO said,
I think that what we can do better is actually targeting different trips to different drivers based on their preferences or based on behavioral patterns that they're showing us. That really is the focus going forward, offering the right trip at the right price to the right driver.
When we asked Uber about this quote from its CEO, the company said matching drivers to specific trips is designed to reduce downtime for drivers while decreasing wait time for riders. Multiple studies and the drivers we talked to say the same thing. With a widening gap between rider prices and driver wages, Uber's take rate is increasing under its upfront pricing model. Take rate is the percentage the company keeps from all the rides it facilitates. Critics say that under the upfront pricing model, that share has been climbing.
Len Sherman found a few things. Overall, he found that it's gotten harder for a lot of drivers to make money under upfront pricing. He also found that Uber increased its take rate. These days, it goes the high 20s, the 30s, even as high as 50% in some cases.
During our ride-along with Levi, he earned $27.31, which was 39% of the ride's initial cost without Margaret's tip.
I would have at least generously thought you were getting like $50, maybe like $45 or something like that would be what I would be assuming.
Meanwhile, Uber's share of a single ride, or the service fee, is $21.29. That's 30% of the ride. Levi showed us that Uber also took a cut from the wait time fee.
For wait time, I paid 56 cents.
See, I got paid 37 cents.
How was that?
I'm the one that did the waiting. It's like, why is Uber making money on the wait time?
Levi's experience is just one data point, but it does echo findings from much larger studies. A 2025 study of 258 drivers found that upfront pricing enabled Uber to increase its median cut from 25% to 29%, and sometimes to over 50% in the UK. And in Len Sherman's latest analysis of roughly 50,000 trips by 3 veteran drivers, he found that his measure of Uber's average take rate exceeded 50% for each driver in 2026. Uber denies that its take rates have increased. The company blames those outside costs, especially the ever-increasing cost of insuring trips booked through Uber, as the main reason riders pay more than drivers receive. On Levi's end, he can see that on his receipt as part of commercial auto insurance, which ended up being $15.78, or a 22% cut of the ride. And at the top of Margaret's receipt, she even received a warning of just how much government-mandated insurance costs have gone up nowadays. But when Levi, who's a former accountant, took a closer look at the numbers, he was more confused by Uber's explanations. Levi tracked his numbers over a 2-year period.
I got the same ride from Ithaca, New York to Syracuse Airport. And the commercial auto insurance fluctuated from $15 for that ride to $50 for that ride. And you'd think that the commercial auto insurance would be tied to, cost per mile or something, you know what I mean? Something logical. But no, it was a random number. I'd like to think as an accountant I could understand it, but I don't.
Lynn Sherman also crunched Levi's numbers and found that the massive fluctuations in Uber's insurance and operational fees were statistically unrelated to the time or day of the trip.
I equate it to going to a casino. That's what being an Uber driver is like. And you could tell by my reaction, there are times I'm winning big. And then there are times you go into the casino and you can't win. You keep losing money. That's what being an Uber driver is like with upfront fares.
Today, upfront pricing has become the standard across rideshare and delivery apps. By October 2022, Lyft expanded upfront pay for drivers across nearly 70 markets nationwide. 2 years later, Lyft reported its first annual net profit, nearly $23 million.
Other companies like Instacart and DoorDash might not use the term upfront pricing, but when you look at payouts, for instance, for delivery drivers, they vary in a similar way. I think it's fair to say that Uber pioneered upfront pricing. There's no doubt about that. Not just for the whole gig economy, but really they pioneered a model that is being used and exported to other industries.
For riders and drivers who navigate these algorithms every day, the shift has cost them something harder to measure: trust.
We just want to be respected and be treated fairly. Like I said, and they're not going to do it. We need help. I always figured if you work hard and you do the right thing, it will work out. But when you're up against such a big conglomerate that could care less what you do for them, it's tough.
It is cold, it's indifferent, it feels manipulative by an algorithm, not like a company that wants to help you succeed. Dara, if you see this video, I like being an Uber driver. I really do. I like meeting the people, I like the flexibility. I think the biggest challenge that you have as a company is that nobody trusts you. Well, I have no problem with Uber making money at any point. I have a problem with Uber making money off of asymmetric information.